right, welcome everyone to the Canyon Theater. We are here for this session for building your career on Salesforce. So let's welcome our panelists up here really quick. Round of applause. So we are thrilled today to invite you to this amazing career panel. We have three amazing speakers who are all Salesforce MVPs, and they're going to share with you their stories about their Salesforce careers and help encourage you to learn Salesforce in a variety of different ways. So first up, we have Ohad Aidan. He's founder of CEO Proxys, and he recently hired a Pep-Up Tech graduate. Nicholas, is he here today? And Nicholas is not only admin certified, he came back to his school to teach admin classes to his students. So inspiration to all of you students here today. Second up, we have Shona Hughes, who's CRM technical lead at Minneapolis Institute of Art. She's also co-founder of Pep-Up Tech and Women in Tech Diversity leader. And then last but not least, we have Stephanie Herrera, who's director of Spreadfast and also founder of Salesforce Saturdays and also Women in Tech leader. So let's welcome our panelists. We're going to have a quick 18 minutes to get through a couple of amazing questions. So panelists, can you talk a little bit about your Salesforce career journeys and what inspires you to learn Salesforce?
So Salesforce was thrust upon me. I just was handed it, and I was asked to figure it out, basically. And back then, we didn't have a lot of this was about 8 years ago. We didn't have a lot of these amazing tools that are here today, Trailhead, and this entire community that has grown tremendously since then. So it was just about figuring it out, use whatever you can online. And for me, one of the biggest things that helped me get through this was actually the local community, the meetup communities.
Amazing. What about you, Shona?
So much like Ohad, I started Salesforce about 11 years ago, so there was no Trailhead. My company bought Salesforce, didn't really know what to do with it, and kind of was like, you're our technical trainer, so I'm going to just let you deal with that, and we had to figure it out. And back then it was just help and training and other community members that you can bounce out ideas off of, so that's how my path began.
Same here, accidental admin. I was a support manager for a sales team. They had just bought Salesforce, and the president of business development had set it up, and he handed it over to me. He said, Stephanie, I want you to own this, learn it. And so I started working in it and created some reports and dashboards, took it to the president, and he was like, did you do this? I was like, yeah. He's like, Chris didn't do this? You did this? I was like, yeah, I did this. And the way he looked at me was like, he was thoroughly impressed that I did it. I was like, wow, I'm actually good at this. Yeah. So that's how I got into the Salesforce platform. And again, I've been in it for 9 years, and there was no Trailhead. Had to walk 5 miles in the snow to go and learn Salesforce, but no, it was a success community. I use the success community a lot.
Was that uphill?
Uphill,
or downhill?
uphill, all uphill. Both ways.
So there's a common theme that I'm hearing here is that back then, these guys had to learn Salesforce without Trailhead. Mm-hmm. And you guys are all so lucky today because we have this amazing learning platform that's free. So back then, without Trailhead, how did you learn Salesforce? What did you have to do to kind of discover the new content and figure it out on your own?
So for me, not very different from Stephanie. My boss basically called me one day and said, hey, Ohad, have you ever heard of Salesforce? And I said, no, what is it? He said, I have no clue, but it's your problem. So it was basically just discovery, right? I literally went into Salesforce and started looking through the setup menu. I knew nothing about what it is. So then I started looking at the help and support. Back then, that's the old version of Trailhead. It was basically like search for a term and try to figure out what it means. But for me, as I mentioned, I mean, where I really started to see how I can grow and make this into an amazing career path for myself was really just the local communities. I would go to the meetups and meet people who have been doing this for some time, and just listen to how they've used the tool to create change in their company, and to create career paths for themselves. So it was all about kind of this conversation, and the moment that I felt that I had enough knowledge to start sharing as well, I felt kind of I have to go and also share my knowledge with new people that come into the community. And so these local communities, these local groups that you have, the success communities, those are, I think, after Trailhead, once you get to understand what it is, those are the best resources available to you.
Yeah. So same thing, learned with help and training. I think back then with the user groups that you now know them as today, they were actually just local meetups. And we used to just call them our drinking support groups because none of us really knew much of anything. We were all learning together. So it was more of a community, a team effort to try and figure out what you were doing in Salesforce to be able to build on the platform. We all did that, together. We were each other's support network. And now, they have the Trailblazer community, which was not available. And you have to remember, this was when the search functionality and help and training was not helpful. Mm-hmm. So it was a stressful time, but learning it was very, I would have to say, bonding and strengthening, because you found the people, you basically found your community, which you are doing here at Dreamforce as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similar. The success community, I'm a very visual learner, hands-on, and very literal in interpreting things. So whereas the success community was helpful, I needed to actually be with people to learn. Once I went to the user group community and asked questions and picked people's brains, it made it a lot faster for me to learn. I felt like, again, just because I have to get out there and do it. So again, just like they said, go to the user groups, ask questions, don't be afraid. When I first started going to the user group communities, it never failed. I always sat at a table full of developers, and I thought, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not a developer. I don't even understand what they're talking about. And I actually left briefly and went to Apple for a year and a half because I really did think this wasn't the platform for me. But I missed Salesforce so much, I left Apple willingly and got back into the Salesforce platform. And this time I promised myself, I'm going to be engaged. I'm going to ask questions. When I go to the user group, I'm not going to be my normal, shy, timid self. I'm going to force myself to go up and meet people and ask questions. And when I did that, I learned a lot faster, because you just can't do it by yourself. I mean, you can, but it's going to take a lot longer, and you're not going to be as successful. So definitely be engaged with the user group community. There's a lot for them to teach you, and you have a lot to teach them. You don't have to be an expert to share your knowledge, but definitely the user group community is a huge resource.
That's some really great advice, Stephanie. And for most of you guys that may not know it, we have the community Cove just right over here. You can actually go to our booths and ask our experts to find out where your nearest community group is, and through them you can find your local meetups.
And if you don't have one local to you, start one.
Yep, exactly.
And you can even start a student group.
Yes.
So come find us and we'll figure it out. So how many of you here are students, graduates, recent grads, or early in your career or looking for a career in Salesforce? Wow, most of you here. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The right choice.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for students or early career starters to find that dream job in the Salesforce ecosystem?
I think that one of the things when you start your career, one of the things that's the scariest is, how do I go? Can you hear me? Okay. How do I go to an interview, and how do I kind of make them realize what I can do? And hey, I think I'm great. How do I make them realize that too? What I found that for me personally was the thing that once I realized how to communicate to people that interviewed me, was just, it's not about whether or not you know everything about the job you're trying to start, because the reality is you're just not going to know everything about it. What you need to convey in an interview is that no matter what gets thrown your way, you know you have the skill set to learn new things. You can figure it out on your own, right? And with tools like the Trailhead community and with Trailhead, there's really nothing today, and Google, there's nothing you can't find out how to do. So do you have the propensity to learn? Do you have the right aptitude? If you believe that you do, just make your interviewer believe that. And I think when I interview, that's the thing that I look for the most. Just someone who's hungry to learn, someone who tells me no matter what you throw my way, I can figure it out. That's it.
I think it's an interesting question, because it's like, how do you know it's your dream job if you've never done it yet? So there's a lot of, starting and stopping, something new and exciting. I've been through several different career moves and things that I'm like, ooh, I really like this or I like that. The beauty about Salesforce is that you can blend so many things that you love. I love art. I went to school for fashion design. I love makeup. I love hair. I love all these things. I am a CRM technical lead at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. So I'm blending my love of art and my love of technology, and that is my dream job. So that's what you guys have to think about too in your career. Like, what do I love? And there's so many avenues that you can take that you can blend the two. I wouldn't say, be stuck to one thing. Actually, look at, there's several things. We're complex individuals, so, mush them together.
As far as I'm going to extend on what Shauna said, because you don't know what you don't know. As far as when you're just starting out, I mentor a lot of people, and I try to help them get that first job in Salesforce. I'm going to tell you right now, it's hard, but hang in there. You've got to be open to doing anything. I think back early in my career at Dell, I was doing sales, and when in home sales, we processed everything. I took the credit card, I got paid right then and there, and then when I went to small business, order processors had my money. I was like, where's my order? Oh, the order processing team has your order. I was like, no. I need my money. Why is it taking 5 days to get my order placed? I need my commission. So when I decided to leave sales, I was like, I'm going to go work in the order processing department. And if you come from the sales background, that's actually a step down. Order processing is below sales, but I wanted to learn that part of the business. And that was one of the best decisions I made at Dell. I went over to the order processing team. I learned how to improve processes. I learned how to lead. I managed that whole team, and we took our attrition rate from very poor, people were always leaving, to we became the #1 order processing team in all of Dell Public. So it gave me great experience because I was willing to learn a different part of the business, and I actually, in most people's eyes, took a step down. But that's how you learn new skills. You can't, just because it's not the dream job that you envisioned for yourself, it might have opportunities that you wouldn't have seen. All that I learned was a stepping stone to where I'm at today. And when you're early on, beggars can't be choosy. You've got to earn that right to get to where you want to go. It's not just going to be handed to you. So be open to any job that's out there, even if it's not on the back end, even if as long as you're using Salesforce as a user. I never got to use Salesforce as an end user. That's something that I wish I'd had experience with. So even if it's customer support or technical support, get that experience. It shows that you're willing to do whatever it takes for your career.
And as a Salesforce admin, those are the teams that you're going to be working with the most, because that's where you're going to be improving process and making, those efficiencies happen.
The other thing is, it's all, everybody always says it's about who you know, right? But not all of us know someone who can help us get the job that we want. So how do you increase your chances to get the job if you're just one more piece of paper on a pile of resumes that the interviewer is looking through, right? And so I can't stress enough how much the local communities and the user groups can help you with that. And a perfect example is, Shirlene, you mentioned Nicholas that I hired recently. And the only way I got to know Nicholas was because he, having no experience with Salesforce at the time, started showing up to the user groups. And the experience that, the feedback I got from Nicholas and from others is, I showed up to this user group, have no clue what to expect, and it was just an open arms family, and they adopted me immediately. And it's basically like this, because in the communities it's all about supporting each other, and that's something that Salesforce was able to create and foster that not many other technology sectors have done so well. So you go into these communities and you start to meet people and you make connections and networking, and those people eventually, if they get to know you, they will help you.
Yep, that happens with us. I get reached out all the time. Will you mentor me? Will you help me? I'm looking for a job. If I don't know your name and your face, because I'm very active in the Austin community. We have 6 user groups. We meet every month. I go to every one of them. We have Salesforce Saturday. If I've not seen you, I'm not responding to your email because I don't have time. I'm going to take care of those people who I see every day. And I do. I've helped people get jobs because they've come to Salesforce Saturday, or they come to the Austin user group, and I will personally reach out to the hiring managers. I'm still in touch with them. I'll follow up to see how they are, and I tell them, you're not just hiring this individual, you're hiring our whole community that supports them, because we do support them. We help them troubleshoot. We give them resources even after they get hired. That goes a long way.
That's great. Great advice for looking for that next job or that next opportunity. So let's focus a little more around that recruitment process. What would you say are some key skills that recruiters look for?
I think that over the last few years since Trailhead was created, when Trailhead first launched, people looked at these badges and they didn't know what does this really mean in terms of recruiting. But today Trailhead has become a real tool for recruiters and for people who interview to know if not only do you have the knowledge, but do you have what it takes, do you have the commitment to sit and actually learn something on your own. So when I interview today, I look at the Trailhead profile for the person that I interview. How many badges do they have? How many points do they have? What kind of badges they have? But beyond that, the thing that is more important to me, more than the knowledge always, is that aptitude, right? It's the person that shows me he wants to learn and he's not waiting for somebody to spoon feed him the knowledge. He'll go out, he'll figure it out, he'll start to learn because there are resources, he'll try to consume them. And to me, that's the one thing that always weighs a lot more than just the knowledge and experience. Not that those aren't important.
So Trailhead. A lot of recruiters, they look at your profile. So make sure your LinkedIn is up to date because they will look there and they'll see how you're engaging with that platform, as well as your local community groups as well. I mean, we can't stress enough how important those local community groups are because recruiters actually come there and they speak to leaders like us and say, who would you recommend for this position? You know, how is their work ethic? How do they communicate? What type of collaboration skills do they have? Like those type of things, that's very important for you to be able to show that it is something that you are passionate about because Salesforce is in demand. And a lot of recruiters that I talk to, they're like, we get these junior people who don't know how to, don't have any public speaking, don't know how to, engage with others. And when you're in the community, you learn all those skills and you learn that naturally and you learn that in a collaborative environment. So it's very important to just make sure you're being seen.
Yeah. In addition to that, I would also say, again, as far as recruiters, I've worked with a few recruiters that have come to our user groups, and based on just the interaction that I've had with them, they've brought jobs to me. Actually, one recruiter that I met, she brought me the most I ever made in my Salesforce career, and she kept after me, and I finally gave in and led with a certain number that I wanted. She's like, yes, we can do that. But that was based on her interaction with me when she met me, my personality, what I did for the community. So one of the things that, for me, as far as I actually work with recruiters, but I also go to the community and I'm looking to see what kind of personality somebody has. Do they have hustle? Are they? Do they get along well with people? Because I can teach you the platform. You can learn Trailhead. I can teach you our business processes. But what I can't teach you is good work ethic. I can't teach you how to get along well with others. So that's what I look for when I'm hiring people. I reach out to people. I see who I know that knows this person, and I ask about them. I was like, what is this person like? Are they difficult to work with? Are they coachable? Being coachable and being resourceful are the two strongest skills that I look for, because I want someone who's not waiting for me to hand everything to them. I want someone who's going to run with the problem, and I want someone who's easy to get along with, because we're going to work probably 50 hours a week together. So I have to have someone who's not going to slow down the process. I don't care how smart you are, how many certifications you are, but if you're difficult and you're making the rest of my team miserable, you're not going to last long with me. So those are very, very important skills. Be resourceful and be coachable.
And Stephanie, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, no, this is really our last final question. What is some final advice you have for these students and early job seekers here today?
Wow, I feel like I kind of already showed all my cards, but I'll just reiterate. I mean, certification, trailheads, and go and be part of your local community. It's impossible to overstate how much value that can provide, not only to your career growth, but just to your personal growth. You can make friends, but you don't have to. You can make networks, but you don't have to. It's up to you to get whatever you want from that, and it's up to you to chase the things that you feel you want. So.
Right. So yeah, that what Ohad just said, it is really up to you. You can make it as far in this ecosystem as you want. But one thing that I do have to say is Salesforce and the community around Salesforce, they're always looking for people who actually give back as well. Mm-hmm. So make that part of who you are. Salesforce lives and breathes the 1-1-1 model. So you make sure that you are also, whatever you're taking from the community, you're also giving back to the community as well.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. I think that's so great. Again, just always be learning. Never, ever, ever stop learning. Be engaged with your community. David Liu gave the best advice. He's like, any opportunity, any Salesforce event that pops up on your radar, you should be going to every single one of them. I went to the developer user groups. I was one of 2 females every single time, and it was always me and a different woman. I didn't know, I wasn't a developer, but I was going to meet people. I was going to network. Met a great developer. When I implemented Service Cloud, the last piece needed code, and I wasn't a developer. I reached out to him. He spent 2 weekends in a row, 6 hours each day, finishing that code for me for free. So it's so important to get out there and network, because you're going to meet people who can help you in so many different facets of your career.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. Amazing job. Let's give these guys a round of applause.